AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she reassigned a role she promised me for years. AITA, I never thought I'd be writing one of these, but here we are. I am 29F, my sister is 32F, and we have always been very close in a slightly chaotic, competitive sibling way. Growing up, it was always just the two of us and our mom after our dad left. Because of that, my sister and I used to talk constantly about future milestones, especially weddings. She always said that no matter what, I would be her maid of honor. This wasn't a casual comment once or twice. It was something she repeated for over a decade, including when she got engaged 3 years ago. When she got engaged, she called me first, crying and screaming. During that call, she said, word for word, "You're obviously my maid of honor. That's not even a question." I helped her with everything from dress shopping to venue tours to DIY decor. I went with her to tastings, addressed invitations, and even helped her budget when her fiancé lost his job for a few months. I never asked for payment or praise. I just thought that's what you do for your sister. About 8 months ago, she told me she had reconnected with an old friend from college, Lena. I had heard of Lena before, but never met her. Suddenly, Lena was everywhere. She moved back to town, started hanging out with my sister constantly, and was included in all wedding planning. I didn't mind at first. People can have more than one close friend, and I was happy my sister was happy. Then about 4 months ago, my sister asked me to meet her for coffee. She looked extremely nervous. She told me she had been thinking a lot and had decided to make Lena her maid of honor instead, and asked if I would be okay being just a bridesmaid. I was honestly stunned. I asked her why, and she said Lena had more wedding experience because she had been a bridesmaid several times, and that Lena was better at public speaking and organizing people. I reminded her that I had already been doing most of the organizing, and that this was something she had promised me for years. She said she knew it was hard, but that titles don't matter, and I should understand. I didn't yell or cry in the cafe, but I did tell her I was hurt. She apologized, but said her decision was final. I went home and cried for hours. It felt like I'd been quietly replaced after doing so much unpaid, emotional, and physical labor for her wedding. After that conversation, things got worse. I was slowly excluded from planning chats, and Lena started giving me instructions instead of asking for help. When I tried to suggest ideas, they were brushed off. It felt humiliating. 2 months ago, there was a dress fitting where Lena made a joke in front of everyone about how the real maid of honor is the one who actually gets things done. My sister laughed. That was my breaking point. I confronted my sister later and told her that this whole situation made me feel disposable. She accused me of being jealous and selfish and said I was making her wedding about me. After a lot of thinking, I told her I needed to step back. I said I would no longer be a bridesmaid and that I didn't feel comfortable attending the wedding at all. I told her I loved her, but that being there would be too painful. She absolutely lost it. She said I was trying to punish her, that I was embarrassing her in front of the family, and that I was ruining one of the most important days of her life. My mom is on her side and says I should be the bigger person and just show up and smile. I have since received texts from extended family calling me dramatic, immature, and cruel. My sister says I've broken her heart and that she will never forgive me if I don't come. From my perspective, she broke my trust first and made it very clear where I stand in her life now. I don't want to sit in the audience watching someone else stand in a place that was promised to me while pretending I'm fine. I genuinely don't know if I'm standing up for myself or blowing things out of proportion. I never wanted to hurt her, but I also don't think I should have to swallow my feelings to make everyone else comfortable. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she replaced me as maid of honor. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she reassigned my role without telling me. I, 32F, have one younger sister, Megan, 29F. Growing up, we were close in that complicated, rivalry-heavy way sisters sometimes are. We shared a room until I left for college, fought constantly, and then slowly mellowed into something like mutual respect as adults. When she got engaged last year, she asked me to be her maid of honor. I was surprised because she has a huge friend group and I'm more low-key, but I said yes immediately. She told me it was because I was her sister and because she trusted me. That meant a lot to me, especially since our parents have always subtly favored her. From the beginning, I try to be the kind of maid of honor people praise on Reddit. I helped plan the bachelorette, went dress shopping multiple times, mediated drama between bridesmaids, and even used my vacation days to travel for wedding stuff. I paid for my own dress, shoes, alterations, hair trial, and chipped in extra when one bridesmaid flaked on paying her share for the bachelorette Airbnb. Megan thanked me often, at least at first. Things started getting weird about 3 months ago. Megan became distant and snippy. She would snap at me for small things like asking what color shoes she preferred or reminding people of deadlines. I chalked it up to wedding stress and tried to give her space. Around that time, she also got closer to her coworker Lily, who joined the bridal party late. Megan started saying things like Lily just gets her and Lily is so organized, joking that she might steal my job. 2 weeks ago, I found out she wasn't joking. We had a family dinner at my parents' house. During dessert, my mom casually asked if I was excited to give my maid of honor speech. Megan froze, then laughed awkwardly and said, "Oh, we decided Lily is going to do the speech since she's known me better in my adult life." Everyone went quiet. I thought it was a joke. It wasn't. Megan then added that Lily would also be standing next to her during the ceremony because the lineup looked more balanced that way. She said I'd still be in the wedding party, just not as maid of honor anymore. This was the first I'd heard of any of this. I excused myself to the bathroom and cried. I felt humiliated, not just because of the demotion, but because it happened in front of our parents with zero warning. When I came back, Megan acted like nothing happened. Later, I pulled her aside and asked why she didn't talk to me first. She said she knew I'd be emotional and she didn't want to deal with it. She also said the title doesn't really matter and I should just be happy for her. Something in me snapped. I told her the title mattered because she made it matter when she asked me, and because I'd spent a year acting like the maid of honor. I asked if I had done something wrong. She said no, but Lily just fit the vibe better. That hurt more than I expected. I went home and thought about it for days. The more I replayed it, the worse I felt. I realized that attending the wedding after this would mean smiling through photos where I'd be noticeably off to the side while Lily stood in my place, wearing the same color dress I helped choose. I knew people would ask questions. I knew I'd feel small. I called Megan and told her I loved her, but I didn't think I could attend the wedding. I said it wasn't a punishment, but a boundary because I didn't trust myself not to be upset and I didn't want to cause a scene on her day. She exploded. She accused me of trying to ruin her wedding, of making everything about me, and of being jealous. She said real sisters would suck it up. My parents are split. My dad thinks Megan handled it badly, but says skipping the wedding is extreme. My mom thinks I'm being dramatic, and that weddings make people do crazy things. Some friends support me. Others say I should just go and leave early. Megan hasn't spoken to me since, except to text that I'm dead to her if I don't show up. I keep going back and forth. Part of me feels justified because of how she treated me. Another part of me worries that not going will permanently damage our relationship and make me look petty to the entire family. I never wanted to be the center of attention. I just wanted basic respect. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she replaced me as maid of honor without telling me. AITA for refusing to give my sister the house I inherited even though she says I ruined her life. I am 31F. My sister Maya is 34F. Growing up, we were close in that messy, competitive way where you love each other but keep score. Our parents divorced when I was 12 and she was 15, and after that everything felt like a tug of war. Maya stayed with our mom. I bounced between houses, and we both learned early how to argue our case like lawyers. 3 years ago, our dad died suddenly. It was awful, and I'm still not over it. In his will, he left me his small house. It's a modest 2-bedroom in a quiet area, nothing fancy, but it's solid and fully paid off. Maya got his car and some savings. At the time, everyone agreed it was fair. Maya was married with 2 incomes and renting a bigger place. I was single, drowning in student loans, and living with roommates. Dad had always worried about me being stable, and he told me more than once he wanted me to have a permanent roof over my head. I moved into the house, fixed it up slowly, and started building a life there. A year later, Maya's marriage fell apart. Her husband cheated, they divorced, and she had to move out of their rental. She and her 2 kids stayed with our mom for a bit. That's when the tone changed. At first, Maya joked that it should have been her house because she has kids. Then the jokes turned into comments, then into arguments. She started saying Dad would have wanted the house to stay with the grandchildren. I reminded her that Dad knew exactly what he was doing when he wrote the will. She accused me of hiding behind paperwork. Last year, our mom downsized and told Maya she needed to find her own place. Maya asked if she and the kids could move into my house temporarily. I said yes with conditions. We drew up a simple agreement. She'd pay a small amount for utilities, respect that it was my house, and we'd revisit the situation in 6 months. Living together was a nightmare. Maya rearranged furniture without asking. She let her kids draw on the walls because they were expressing themselves. She told them it was their house too. When I corrected her, she'd roll her eyes and say I was being territorial. 6 months passed, and I asked what her plan was. She said she thought we were past the idea of her leaving. She said it made sense for me to move out and let her have the house since I don't have kids. I thought she was joking. She was not. She told me I could take the savings she got from Dad and use it for a down payment somewhere else. I reminded her that money was gone, spent during the divorce. She then suggested I sell the house to her for far below market value. I said no. That's when everything blew up. She told our mom I was trying to make her homeless. She told our extended family that I was hoarding an empty house while her kids slept on couches. She conveniently left out that I was sleeping in my own bedroom while she had 2 rooms for her and the kids. The final straw came when I found out she'd enrolled her kids in the local school using my address without telling me. When I confronted her, she said it proved they belonged there and I was heartless to think about uprooting them. I gave her 60 days notice to move out. She cried, screamed, and called me every name in the book. Our mom begged me to reconsider, saying family should sacrifice. I said I already had. Maya moved out to a rental farther away and now barely speaks to me. Now the family is split. Some say I follow the law, but not my heart. Others say Maya tried to bully me out of my own inheritance. I feel guilty when I think about the kids, but I also feel like if I gave in, I'd never get my life back. So, AITA for keeping the house and forcing my sister to move out, even though she says I ruined her life. AITA for refusing to apologize to my sister after I canceled her wedding cake and told our family exactly why. I am 29F and my sister is 33F. We have never been especially close, but we have managed to stay civil by keeping our lives separate. I am a professional baker. I own a small custom bakery that I built from the ground up over the last 6 years. It is my full-time job, my main income, and honestly my pride and joy. I specialize in detailed, multi-tiered cakes, and wedding cakes are my biggest source of revenue. When my sister got engaged last year, she asked if I would make her wedding cake. I hesitated at first because working with family can get messy, but she promised she would treat me like a real vendor and not pull the sister card. She also said it would mean a lot to her to have something I made. Against my better judgment, I agreed. From the beginning, the process was rough. She wanted a very elaborate 4-tier cake with hand-painted details, fresh flowers, and custom flavors for each tier. Normally, something like this would cost around $1,800. I gave her a family discount and quoted $1,100 just to cover ingredients, labor, and time. She complained it was still too expensive and kept comparing me to grocery store cakes. I reminded her that grocery stores don't hand-paint cakes or test custom flavors. She eventually agreed, but acted like she was doing me a favor. Over the next few months, she constantly changed her mind. New colors, new flowers, different flavors, different design references. Every time I sent updated sketches or invoices reflecting extra work, she would say things like, "But you're my sister. Or can't you just do this one little thing? I swallowed my frustration and kept going because I didn't want to cause family drama. Things really escalated about 6 weeks before the wedding. She sent me a message saying she had decided not to pay the remaining balance until after the wedding, just in case something goes wrong. I explained very clearly that my policy, which she had in writing, requires full payment 2 weeks before delivery. This isn't optional, and it applies to everyone. She accused me of being greedy and said I was choosing money over family. Then, at a family dinner, she made a joke in front of everyone about how she was basically forcing me to make the cake and how I should be grateful for the exposure. People laughed awkwardly. I was embarrassed and hurt, but I didn't say anything at the table. A few days later, she sent me yet another list of changes, including adding a 5th tier and a sugar sculpture topper. I told her that at this point, I couldn't make additional changes without a significant increase in price and time, and that I still needed the outstanding balance paid. She exploded. She called me selfish, accused me of sabotaging her wedding, and said any normal sister would just make it work. That was the moment I snapped. I told her that she was treating me like free labor instead of a professional, and that if she didn't pay the balance and stop changing the design, I would cancel the order. She said, "Fine, cancel it. I'll just tell everyone you ruined my wedding." I took her at her word and canceled the order. I refunded what she had already paid, minus the cost of supplies I had already used, which again is standard policy. I also sent her a detailed message explaining exactly why I was canceling and reminded her of the multiple chances I'd given her. After that, the fallout was immediate. My parents called me, furious, saying I had humiliated my sister and added stress to an already emotional time. My sister started telling relatives that I abandoned her and left her without a cake weeks before the wedding. So I decided I was done protecting her image. When family members asked me what happened, I told them the truth. I showed messages. I explained my pricing, my policies, and how she refused to pay or respect my work. Now the family is split. Some people agree that she crossed a line and treated me terribly. Others say that no matter what, I should have just sucked it up and made the cake because you only get married once and family comes first. My sister says I owe her a public apology for airing dirty laundry and that I permanently damaged our relationship. I don't think I'm wrong for standing up for myself and my business, but the guilt is creeping in because the wedding is in 2 weeks and she's scrambling to find a replacement. So AITA for canceling my sister's wedding cake and refusing to apologize for telling the truth. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she reassigned the role I've had since we were kids. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she reassigned a role I've had since we were kids. I am 29F and my sister is 32F. Growing up, it was always the two of us. Our parents worked long hours and we were left together a lot, which meant we developed our own little rituals. One of those was that at every big family event, birthdays, holidays, graduations, I was the person who helped her get ready. I did her hair, helped zip dresses, calmed her down when she was nervous. It was half practical, half emotional. It became a symbol of our relationship. She even used a joke that if she ever got married, I would be the one to help her in her dress, no matter what. Fast forward to now. She got engaged last year and asked me to be her maid of honor. I said yes immediately. I help with everything. Dress shopping, venue tours, DIY decorations, endless group chats, emotional venting sessions at midnight. I took time off work, spent a lot of my own money, and generally made her wedding a priority in my life for over a year. About 3 months ago, she started acting distant. Short replies, canceled plans, that kind of thing. I figured it was wedding stress and didn't push. Then about 6 weeks ago, she asked if we could talk. She came over and told me that she had decided to make her future sister-in-law her maid of honor instead. Her explanation was that since they were becoming family, it would be symbolic and that her fiancé's family cared a lot about appearances. She said I would still be very important and could be a bridesmaid. I was hurt, but trying to be understanding. What really got me was when she casually added that her future sister-in-law would also be the one helping her get ready on the wedding day. I reminded her of our tradition and what it meant to me. She shrugged and said traditions change, and that it made more sense for someone from her new family to do it. She said I was being too sentimental and that it was just a dress. That night, I went home and cried harder than I have in years. It felt like I was being replaced, not just in the wedding, but in her life. I tried to talk to her again a few days later, calmly, and told her that this hurt me deeply and made me feel pushed aside. She got defensive and said I was making her wedding about me. She accused me of trying to guilt her and said if I couldn't be happy for her, maybe I shouldn't be involved at all. After that conversation, something in me just snapped. I realized that for months I'd been bending over backwards, swallowing my feelings, and telling myself not to be selfish. I told her that I needed some space and that, as things stood, I didn't feel comfortable attending the wedding. I said I loved her, but couldn't sit there smiling while feeling like an afterthought. She told our parents. Now they are furious with me. They say I am overreacting, that weddings are stressful, and that family should show up no matter what. My mom said I was punishing my sister for growing up. My dad said I would regret missing such an important day. My sister sent me a long message saying I had broken her heart and that everyone would ask where I was and it would embarrass her. I feel torn. On one hand, I know it is her wedding and she can choose whatever she wants. On the other hand, I feel like she dismissed something deeply meaningful to me without a second thought and then blamed me for being hurt. I keep replaying everything in my head, wondering if I'm being childish or dramatic. I haven't officially declined yet, but the wedding is in 2 months and people are starting to ask about logistics. I feel sick every time I think about going, but I also feel sick imagining the fallout if I don't. So AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she reassigned a role that has symbolized our bond for our entire lives. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she reassigned my role and gave away something deeply personal to me. I'm 31F and my younger sister, Mara, is 28F. We've always been close in a complicated way. Growing up, I was the reliable one and she was the charming one. I was the kid who did chores without being asked and got good grades. She was the one who forgot her homework, but somehow talked teachers into extensions. Our parents used to joke that I was the spare adult in the house. I didn't mind most of the time, but it set a pattern where my feelings were usually treated as optional. 2 years ago, our grandmother died. She basically raised us while our parents worked long hours, and she was the most important adult in my life. Before she passed, she gave me her wedding ring. It wasn't flashy, just a thin gold band with a tiny chip diamond, but she told me she wanted me to have it because I was steady and would know what to do with it when the time came. I took that seriously. I've worn it on a chain around my neck ever since. It's not about money or status. It's about her. Mara got engaged last year. I was genuinely happy for her. When she asked me to be her maid of honor, I cried and said yes immediately. I helped with everything. Dress shopping, DIY centerpieces, addressing invitations, calming her down during late-night spirals. I paid for my own dress, shoes, hair, makeup, and even covered some extra decor costs when her budget ran tight. I never complained because I thought this was what being a supportive sister looked like. About 3 months ago, Mara casually asked me if she could borrow Grandma's ring for her wedding. She said it would mean a lot to her to feel like Grandma was there. I told her no, but gently. I explained that the ring was given to me specifically and that it was one of the few things I had that made me feel close to Grandma. I offered alternatives, like wearing one of Grandma's brooches or carrying her handkerchief, both of which I would have happily given her. Mara seemed disappointed, but said she understood. Things got weird after that. She became distant, started excluding me from planning chats, and stopped asking my opinion. I figured she was just stressed. Then, 2 weeks ago, she called me and said she had rethought the bridal party structure. She told me she decided her best friend would be maid of honor instead, and I would be a regular bridesmaid. I was hurt, but tried to be gracious. She said she wanted someone more assertive to run the day of logistics. That stung, but I swallowed it. A few days later, I found out through our cousin that Mara had our mom retrieve Grandma's ring from my apartment while I was at work. Apparently, Mara told her I had agreed to lend it and just forgot to hand it over. My mom used her spare key, took the ring from my jewelry box, and gave it to Mara. I came home, noticed it was gone, and immediately panicked. Well, I called my mom. She admitted what she did and said she thought it was silly to argue over old jewelry when it was for a wedding. I called Mara in tears. She said I was being dramatic and that it was her wedding, not my grief shrine. She said Grandma would have wanted her to have it and accused me of hoarding sentimentality. I told her she crossed a massive boundary and stole from me. She said she would give it back after the wedding, but at that point it wasn't about temporary possession. It was about trust. I asked for the ring back immediately. She refused, saying it would ruin the ceremony to change plans. I told her if she didn't return it, I wouldn't attend the wedding at all. She laughed and said I wouldn't actually do that because it would make me look bad. I drove to her apartment the next morning and demanded the ring. She wouldn't open the door. I left and went straight to my parents' house. That turned into a screaming match where I was told I was selfish, jealous, and trying to sabotage my sister's happiness. My dad said families make sacrifices, and my mom said I should be flattered that Mara wanted something of mine so badly. I left and sent Mara a text saying I was officially stepping down from the wedding and would not attend unless the ring was returned to me beforehand. She replied that if I didn't show up, she would tell everyone I abandoned her over a piece of jewelry. I said she could tell whatever story she wanted. As of now, the wedding is in 2 weeks. I haven't gotten the ring back. Half my relatives have messaged me saying I'm being cruel and petty. A few friends agree with me, but say skipping the wedding might permanently damage the relationship. I'm heartbroken, angry, and exhausted. I don't want to punish anyone, but I also feel like if I back down now, I'm agreeing that my boundaries and grief don't matter. So AITA for refusing to go to my sister's wedding unless she returns my grandmother's ring, and for being prepared to miss it entirely if she doesn't. AITA for refusing to apologize to my sister after her wedding blew up because of a lie I didn't know I was telling. AITA because my family is split down the middle, and I genuinely don't know if I crossed the line or if I'm being scapegoated. I'm 32F. My sister Lena is 29F. We were close growing up, but drifted in adulthood. She got engaged last year and asked me to be her maid of honor. I hesitated because we hadn't been close, but she said she wanted a fresh start, so I agreed. From the beginning, wedding planning was tense. Lena is very type A and likes things done her way, no discussion. I try to be supportive and stay out of decisions unless she asked. One thing that came up early was our dad. Our parents divorced when we were teens because of his affair. Lena cut contact with him years ago. I didn't. I see him occasionally, and we're civil. Lena was very clear that she did not want him at the wedding. I respected that and never pushed. Here's where things started to go wrong. About 2 months before the wedding, our aunt asked me if Dad was invited. I said no. Lena doesn't want him there. Aunt then asked if Lena was still angry or if it was just awkward. I said something like, I think it's more complicated than anger. She just doesn't feel safe around him emotionally. That's something Lena has said in the past, so I didn't think much of it. Apparently, that sentence took on a life of its own. And told my cousin told my grandma. And by the time it got back to my dad, the story was that Lena was telling people he was abusive and unsafe. That is not what I said and not what I meant. But I didn't know any of this was happening. Fast forward to the rehearsal dinner. I noticed Dad isn't there, obviously, but also noticed my grandma is acting weird around Lena. Whispering, crying, very dramatic. I asked Lena privately if she was okay. She snapped at me and said, "Ask your father." I was confused, but didn't push because it was the night before her wedding. On the wedding day itself, everything imploded. Before the ceremony, Dad showed up outside the venue. He wasn't invited, but he wasn't trying to come in either. He wanted to talk to Lena. Security was called. People were crying. Lena was screaming. Eventually, her fiancé told Dad to leave, or they'd call the police. Dad left, but not before yelling that he was tired of being painted as a monster. The ceremony happened, but the reception was a mess. Lena barely spoke to me. At the end of the night, she confronted me in front of several people and accused me of telling the family that Dad abused her. I was stunned. I told her I never said that. She said I might as well have, and that my words caused Dad to show up and ruin her wedding. I tried to explain what I actually said, but she wouldn't listen. She said I always defend Dad, that I betrayed her, and that as maid of honor I should have protected her. She demanded I apologize publicly to her and her husband for causing the scene. I said I was sorry for the stress, but I wasn't going to apologize for something I didn't do. Now my family is divided. Some say intent doesn't matter, and I should just apologize to keep the peace. Others say Lena is projecting and looking for someone to blame because she never dealt with her issues with Dad. Lena has blocked me and told people she regrets asking me to be in the wedding. I feel awful that her wedding was hurt, but I also feel like apologizing would mean admitting to spreading a lie I never told. I didn't know my words would be twisted, and I didn't invite Dad or tell him to come. AITA for refusing to apologize? AITA for refusing to keep paying for my sister's wedding after she uninvited my partner? I, 32F, have always been the stable one in my family. I moved out early, worked my way through college, and now have a job that pays well enough that I can help out when things go wrong. Because of that, my parents and siblings often assume I'll step in financially, even when they don't say it outright. Most of the time, I don't mind. I love my family, and I know not everyone has the same opportunities one did. My younger sister, Megan, 28F, got engaged last year. She and her fiancé, Ryan, 30M, are nice enough, but they are not great with money. They wanted a big wedding they clearly couldn't afford, but they were determined to make it happen anyway. My parents offered to help a little, but they're on a fixed income. That's when Megan came to me in tears, saying she'd always dreamed of this wedding and asking if I could help cover some of the bigger expenses. After a lot of thought, I agreed. I told her very clearly that I could help pay for the venue and catering, but I wasn't an unlimited wallet. She hugged me, cried, and promised she'd be grateful forever. At the time, I felt good about it. I transferred deposits directly to vendors so there wouldn't be confusion. Here's where things start to go sideways. I've been with my partner, Alex, 34M, for 4 years. We're not married, but we live together, share finances, and are very much a package deal. Alex is quiet, kind, and not super social, but my family has never had a real issue with him before. He's always polite, helps clean up after holidays, and stays out of drama. A few months into wedding planning, Megan started making little comments. She said Alex didn't really fit the vibe of the wedding and joked that he was kind of a downer. I brushed it off as stress. Then she asked me, half joking but clearly serious, if Alex really needed to come to the wedding. I laughed and said of course he did. She didn't laugh back. Last month, Megan called me and said she needed to talk. She told me she'd been thinking a lot and decided she didn't want Alex at the wedding. Her reasoning was that she wanted only people who fully support the marriage there, and she claimed Alex had once asked Ryan if he was sure about the timeline of the wedding, which she interpreted as negativity. I asked Alex about it later, and he said he just asked how Ryan was feeling because he seemed stressed. That was it. I told Megan that uninviting my long-term partner was unacceptable. She said it was her wedding and her rules, and since Alex wasn't family, he didn't have a right to be there. I reminded her that I was paying for a huge chunk of this wedding and that Alex is my family. She accused me of trying to control her big day with money. Things escalated fast. She said if Alex came, she'd be uncomfortable the whole day. I said if Alex wasn't welcome, then I wouldn't feel welcome either. She told me I was being dramatic and that normal sisters would understand. After that call, I sent her a message saying I would no longer be paying for the remaining balances on the venue and catering unless Alex was invited and treated respectfully. I didn't ask for any money back that I'd already paid. I just said I wouldn't continue funding something where my partner was deliberately excluded. She lost it. She told our parents I was sabotaging her wedding out of spite. My mom called me crying, saying Megan had always been sensitive and that I should be the bigger person. My dad said that while he understood why I was hurt, backing out financially so close to the wedding was cruel. Megan sent me a long text saying I'd ruined what was supposed to be the happiest time of her life and that she'd never forgive me. Now my family is split. Some relatives think Megan crossed a line by uninviting Alex. Others think money should never come with conditions and that I should have just sucked it up for one day. Alex feels awful and says he doesn't want to be the reason my family is fighting, but he also admits he'd be deeply hurt if I went without him and kept paying. The wedding is in 3 months. Megan and Ryan are scrambling to cut costs, and may have to change venues. I feel guilty because I know I have the ability to help, and I'm the reason things are falling apart financially. At the same time, I feel like I'm finally drawing a boundary instead of letting my family walk over me. So, AITA for refusing to keep paying for my sister's wedding after she uninvited my partner? Hey friends, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what could be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she tried to test my relationship? AITA because my entire family is split, and I honestly don't know if I'm being stubborn or if this crossed a line. I'm 32F, and my sister Lena is 29F. Growing up, Lena was always the golden child. She was louder, more social, more conventionally successful, and my parents tended to treat her opinions as fact while mine were treated as suggestions. I learned early to keep my head down and avoid conflict. We were never enemies, but we were never close either. 5 years ago, I started dating my now partner, Evan, 34M. Evan is quiet, thoughtful, and very private. He's not the kind of guy who performs for an audience, and my family never quite knew what to do with him. Lena especially decided early on that something was off about him. She'd make little comments like, "He's too calm," "Are you sure he's real?" or "I don't trust people who never overshare." I told her repeatedly that not everyone expresses themselves the same way and that Evan was just reserved. Fast forward to last year, Evan and I moved in together and started talking seriously about marriage. Around the same time, Lena got engaged and immediately went into full wedding planner mode. Everything became about her wedding, which I expected. What I didn't expect was that she suddenly became intensely interested in my relationship. She started asking invasive questions at family dinners. "How often do you fight? Who makes more money? Have you ever checked his phone? Do you know all his passwords?" I told her it made me uncomfortable. She laughed it off and said she was just making conversation. Then things escalated. About 3 months ago, Evan and I were at my parents' house for a Sunday dinner. Lena casually mentioned that she had seen Evan out at a bar with another woman a few weeks prior. She said it lightly like gossip. My stomach dropped. Evan looked genuinely confused and said he hadn't been to a bar in months. Lena shrugged and said maybe she was mistaken, but she could have sworn it was him. That night, I asked Evan about it. He was calm and consistent, even pulled up his calendar and bank statements without me asking, showing he had been out of town for work that week. I believed him, but the seed of doubt hurt. It caused a few tense days between us that honestly didn't need to happen. 2 weeks later, Lena accidentally forwarded me a screenshot of a DM she claimed Evan had sent to one of her friends months ago. It was flirty but vague. The account name was similar to Evan's, but the photo was blurry. Evan immediately showed me his real account, his message history, and even helped me reverse image search the profile picture, which turned out to be from a stock photo site. Someone had made a fake account. At that point, I confronted Lena. She finally admitted the truth. She said she never believed Evan was cheating, but she wanted to see how solid our relationship really was before I tied myself to him forever. She called it a stress test. Her exact words were, "If your relationship can't survive a little doubt, it's not strong enough for marriage." I lost it. I told her she had deliberately tried to sabotage my relationship, hurt both me and Evan, and that it wasn't her place to test anything. She told me I was overreacting and that she was just looking out for me. My parents took her side. They said Lena meant well, that weddings make people emotional, and that I should let it go for the sake of family harmony. Evan was deeply hurt. He said he felt humiliated and disrespected, especially knowing my family believed Lena's intentions mattered more than the impact. He said he would still support me if I wanted to attend the wedding, but he didn't want to go himself, and he would understand if I chose not to go. After a lot of thought, I told my parents and Lena that I would not be attending the wedding unless Lena genuinely apologized to both me and Evan and acknowledged what she did was wrong. Not a sorry you felt hurt apology, but a real one. Lena refused. She said apologizing would mean admitting she was a bad sister, which she wasn't. She also accused me of trying to ruin her wedding and make everything about myself. Now the wedding is a month away. Extended family is calling me dramatic. My parents say they're embarrassed and that people will ask why I'm not there. Lena told me I'm dead to her if I don't show up. Part of me feels guilty because I know skipping her wedding will permanently damage what little relationship we have left. Another part of me feels like if I give in, I'm teaching everyone that they can hurt me and my partner without consequences. So AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she deliberately tried to test and destabilize my relationship. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after I found out I was being used as a lesson. I'm 32F. My sister Lena is 29F and getting married in 2 months. Growing up, Lena was the golden child. She was charming, emotional in a way adults found endearing, and very good at being seen as fragile. I was the reliable one. I got good grades, didn't make trouble, and was always told I was mature for my age. That translated into me being expected to bend, wait, forgive, and understand. When we were teenagers, Lena dated a series of guys who treated her badly. I was the one she cried to at night. I helped her move out of apartments, lent her money she never repaid, and once drove 4 hours to pick her up because her boyfriend dumped her at a gas station after a fight. At the same time, I was dating Mark, now my ex, for nearly 7 years. Mark wasn't abusive, but he was passive, avoidant, and had a habit of letting me carry the emotional load of the relationship. I stayed longer than I should have because I believe commitment meant endurance. 3 years ago, Mark and I broke up. It was ugly but quiet. No cheating, no screaming, just the slow realization that he would never choose me in the ways I needed. Lena was oddly fascinated by the breakup. She kept asking for details, asking how I felt, asking what I would do differently. I assumed she was just being curious or supportive. About a year after that, Lena met her current fiancé, Evan. Evan is polite, successful, and very intentional. He plans dates, communicates clearly, and proposed after 18 months. Everyone loves him. At first, I did too, until I started noticing something that made me uncomfortable. Lena would casually reference my past relationship as a contrast. She'd say things like, "I'm just so glad Evan isn't like Mark, emotionally unavailable," or "watching what you went through really taught me what not to accept." I tried to laugh it off, but it stung. It felt like my pain was being turned into a teaching tool. The real problem started during wedding planning. Lena asked me to be her maid of honor. I hesitated but said yes, because saying no would have caused drama. As MOH, I was included in planning calls, venue tours, and long group chats. During one planning dinner, after a couple of glasses of wine, Lena made a toast. She thanked our parents, her friends, Evan, and then looked at me and said, "And thank you to my sister for being my example of what happens when you settle. I learned so much from watching you." The table laughed awkwardly. I didn't. I felt like the air left my lungs. Later that night, I confronted her privately and told her that comment was cruel and humiliating. She seemed genuinely confused and said, "I meant it as a compliment. You went through that, so I didn't have to." I told her that my relationship wasn't a case study and that I didn't consent to being framed as a cautionary tale. She got defensive and said I was being sensitive and projecting unresolved bitterness. I asked her to please not bring up my past relationship in speeches or wedding events. She agreed, but in a way that felt like she was appeasing a child. A week later, I was added to a shared Google Doc for the wedding website. In the Our Stories section, there was a paragraph about how Lena learned the value of self-worth by watching those closest to her struggle in unbalanced relationships. It wasn't naming me, but it was obvious. When I objected, she said it was vague and that removing it would erase her journey. The final straw came when Evan's sister, whom I barely know, pulled me aside at the bridal shower and said, "I just wanted to say, it's really generous of you to be here after everything. Lena told me how your relationship really opened her eyes." That meant Lena had been telling this story to other people, framing my past as a morality play with her, as the student who learned the lesson. I told Lena I could no longer be her maid of honor. I said I'd attend as a guest if she stopped using my life as part of her narrative. She exploded. She said I was trying to sabotage her happiness, that I was jealous she found love faster, and that families are supposed to help each other grow. I told her growth shouldn't come at the cost of someone else's dignity. Our parents got involved. They said Lena didn't mean harm, and that weddings are stressful. They reminded me that I've always been the strong one, and suggested I let it go for the sake of peace. I realized that's what I've been doing my whole life. I told them I wouldn't attend the wedding at all unless Lena apologized and removed all references, direct or indirect, to my past relationship from speeches and materials. Lena refuses, saying I'm demanding she rewrite her truth. The wedding is approaching, relatives are calling me selfish, and I'm starting to wonder if I'm overreacting or if I'm finally setting a boundary that should have existed years ago. AITA? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she reassigned the role I'd already paid thousands for? AITA, I, 32F, have an older sister, Claire, 35F. Growing up, Claire was always the golden child. She was louder, more confident, and better at presenting herself as easygoing, while I was the reliable one who showed up, fixed things, and didn't complain. Our parents leaned on me a lot, and I learned early that keeping the peace meant swallowing my feelings. I thought we'd outgrown that dynamic, but apparently not. Last year, Claire got engaged and immediately asked me to be her maid of honor. I was genuinely surprised and touched. She said I was the most dependable person in her life, and that she couldn't imagine doing it without me. I accepted, even though I knew it would be expensive and time-consuming. I also knew Claire could be fluid with plans. Over the next 8 months, I did everything expected and more. I planned the engagement party, the bridal shower, and the bachelorette weekend. I coordinated schedules, paid deposits, fronted money when others were late, and handled emotional meltdowns when things weren't vibing. I took time off work. I spent over $4,000 total, including a non-refundable beach house deposit for the bachelorette that Claire insisted had to be perfect. 2 months ago, Claire started getting distant. She stopped responding quickly, answered questions vaguely, and began copying our cousin Lily, 27F, on messages that didn't involve her. Lily has always idolized Claire and tends to agree with everything she says. I asked Claire directly if something was wrong. She said she was just stressed and appreciated everything I was doing. Last month, Claire invited me to lunch. I assumed we were finalizing wedding details. Instead, she told me she decided Lily would be a better maid of honor because Lily was more in tune with her vision and brought a lighter energy. She said I could still be in the wedding party, just not in that role. She framed it as a small adjustment and said she hoped I'd understand. I was stunned. I asked what I'd done wrong. She said nothing, but that I sometimes made things feel like a project instead of a celebration. I reminded her that she asked me to handle logistics. She shrugged and said Lily was just more naturally supportive and less intense. She also said Lily couldn't afford to plan things, which is why it made sense for me to do all the work and then pass the title. I asked about the money I'd spent, especially the bachelorette deposit. Claire said that was my choice and that weddings are expensive for everyone. She suggested I consider it my gift to her. I didn't yell. I didn't cry there. I just told her I needed time. That night, I went through my budget and realized I'd wiped out my savings to support her wedding. I felt used and disposable. After a few days, I told Claire I wouldn't be attending the wedding at all. I said I loved her, but I couldn't celebrate an event where I felt so disrespected. All hell broke loose. My parents said I was overreacting and making it about money. Claire accused me of punishing her for following her heart. Lily texted me, saying I was ruining a once-in-a-lifetime moment and that titles don't matter. When I pointed out that titles mattered enough to take mine away, she stopped responding. Now the family is split. Some say Claire handled it badly, but that I should still show up to keep the peace. Others quietly told me they'd have done the same. The wedding is in 3 weeks, and Claire hasn't spoken to me since except to ask if I was still transferring the remaining bachelorette funds. I keep going back and forth. Part of me feels guilty for not going. Another part of me feels like going would just confirm that my feelings don't matter as long as things look fine from the outside. I don't know if this is me finally setting a boundary or me being petty. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she replaced me is made of honor and expected me to absorb the cost. AITA for refusing to give my sister my wedding venue after she got engaged later than me. AITA because my entire family is acting like I committed some unforgivable crime, and I genuinely can't tell if I've lost perspective or if they have. I am Chujishchi F. My sister is 27F. We've always had a complicated relationship. Not openly hostile, but competitive in a quiet, exhausting way. She's the kind of person who gets praised for breathing. I'm the kind who has to justify every choice like I'm on trial. Last year, my partner of 6 years proposed. It wasn't flashy, but it was perfect for us. We immediately started planning because we wanted a fall wedding and venues in our area booked fast. I did months of research, visited places on weekends, compared pricing, capacity, accessibility, catering rules, noise restrictions, all of it. Eventually, I found this small, historic greenhouse venue about an hour away. It's gorgeous, full of light, lots of plants, and it weirdly felt like us. We put down a non-refundable deposit and signed a contract for October this year. Everyone seemed happy for us. My parents visited the venue and told me it was beautiful. My sister said it was cute, which for her is basically applause. Fast forward 8 months. My sister starts dating someone new. Within 6 months, they're engaged. I'll admit I was surprised, but I congratulated her sincerely. At a family dinner, she announces they want to get married as soon as possible, ideally late summer. A week later, she calls me and says she's in love with my venue. She said she looked at dozens of places and nothing compares. Then she says something that made my stomach drop. Since my wedding is in October, would I consider letting her have the venue in August instead? I laughed at first because I thought she was joking. She wasn't. She explained that since I already had the deposit down and the venue knows our family, it would be easier if I just switched to somewhere else. She even said I could still use the same venue later if I wanted, just not this year. I told her that wasn't possible, that the contract is in my name, and that I chose the date and place intentionally. She got quiet and then said I was being selfish. She said her relationship moved faster than mine, that she doesn't want to wait, and that it's not fair I get first dibs on everything just because I got engaged earlier. I said, probably more sharply than I should have, that planning ahead isn't first dibs, it's planning. She hung up. Within days, my parents called me. They said my sister was devastated and crying constantly. They asked if I could be the bigger person. They suggested I move my wedding to winter or next spring and find a different venue. When I said no, my mom said, it's just a party. Family should matter more. I reminded them it's not just a party to me, and that I spent months planning this. My dad said I was putting a building over my sister's happiness. Things escalated when my sister showed up at my place unannounced. She told me I always need to win, that I can't stand her having something nice, and that if I really loved her, I would let this go. She accused me of trying to upstage her by getting married first, which honestly made me feel like I was in a bizarre alternate reality. I told her no again, calmly this time. I said she is free to book the venue herself if it's available on another date, but I am not giving up mine. She stormed out and later posted a vague but very pointed social media post about how some people value aesthetics over blood. I didn't respond, but relatives started texting me, saying I should reconsider, that I have more time, that she's younger, that I'm more stable, so I should be flexible. Now family gatherings are tense. My sister won't speak to me. My parents keep sighing heavily whenever the wedding comes up. I've started doubting myself. Part of me wonders if I should just cave to keep the peace. Another part of me feels like if I do, this will never end. I'm not stopping her from getting married. I'm not sabotaging her plans. I just don't want to give up something I work hard for because she decided she wants it too. So AITA for refusing to give my sister my wedding venue, even though it's causing this much family conflict? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of how she treated my partner? My sister, Emma, has always been the golden child in our family. Growing up, she was the one who could do no wrong in my parents' eyes, while I was constantly being compared to her. I've come to terms with that over the years, and we generally have a good adult relationship, but things came to a head recently surrounding her wedding. Emma got engaged about a year ago to a man named Ryan. I didn't know Ryan very well, but I met him a few times, and while I wouldn't call him unpleasant, there was always something about him that rubbed me the wrong way. I try to keep an open mind because I care about my sister, but over time I realized that he has a very controlling personality. Emma is fiercely independent, so I wasn't too worried at first, thinking she could handle him. The real problem started when Emma sent out the wedding invitations. She and Ryan decided to have a very small wedding, mostly because Ryan didn't want too many people around. When I got my invite, I noticed something odd. My partner, Alex, was not invited. I immediately called Emma to clarify. She said they were trying to keep the guest list small and that it was just family but didn't include Alex. I was shocked because Alex has been a part of my life for almost 5 years, and I've never kept anything from my sister about them. I tried to reason with her, explaining that excluding Alex felt hurtful and dismissive. I told her this wasn't just a +1 situation. Alex is a huge part of my life, and our relationship is serious. Emma got defensive immediately, saying that Ryan didn't want extra people there and that I was being dramatic. She insisted that it was nothing personal, but her tone was cold and dismissive. I felt trapped. On one hand, I wanted to support my sister on her wedding day. On the other hand, I couldn't imagine attending a day that was supposed to be about love and family while my partner was deliberately excluded. I asked my parents for advice, but they said I should just go and be the bigger person and that Emma's feelings were more important. My parents have always favored Emma, so this didn't surprise me, but it still felt unfair. I tried one more time to convince Emma. I said I would love to be there, but I could not attend without Alex. I even offered to pay for them if space was an issue or sit at a separate table. She flat out refused, saying that Ryan didn't want it and that I should just accept it. The conversation ended with Emma saying, "If you really loved me, you'd come anyway and deal with it." At this point, I made the decision not to attend. I sent her a message explaining that I loved her, I wanted to be part of her wedding, but I couldn't go knowing Alex wasn't welcome. I said it wasn't about the guest list or her wedding plans. It was about being treated as though a person I loved didn't matter. I wished her well and told her I hoped she had a beautiful day. The fallout was immediate. Emma called me every name in the book, accusing me of being selfish, dramatic, and cruel. She said I was ruining her wedding by not being there, and that Alex was overreacting by expecting to be included. My parents are upset too. They've taken Emma's side, saying I'm causing unnecessary tension and that I should have swallowed my pride. I've received texts from extended family asking why I wouldn't come. I tried to explain the situation, but most of them say I'm being stubborn and should just attend to avoid family drama. Even some of my friends are divided. A few say I'm right to stand by my principles, while others think I overreacted and made the situation about myself. It's been a few weeks since the wedding. Emma posted photos and tagged the family, and I saw some mutual friends who attended, but I didn't engage. Part of me feels sad and guilty because I know this will likely cause a permanent rift. I also feel angry because my partner was treated as if they didn't exist in my family's life, despite being supportive, respectful, and deeply involved in everything I do. I still struggle with whether I handled this correctly. On one hand, I value my relationship with my sister, but I also feel that allowing her to exclude Alex without standing up would have made me complicit in something hurtful. On the other hand, the wedding was a once-in-a-lifetime event, and some people are telling me I should have gone for the sake of family harmony. I'm leaning toward thinking I did the right thing for myself and my partner, but the backlash from my family makes me doubt myself sometimes. I love my sister, but I also can't ignore how she treated Alex and, by extension, me. I haven't spoken to Emma since the wedding, and I don't know if I should try to repair things or just let the relationship cool down. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because she wouldn't include my partner? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she disinvited my husband because of a harmless comment he made? I, 32F, have a younger sister, Emily, 29F, and we've always had a somewhat complicated relationship. Growing up, we were close, but as adults, our personalities clashed more often than not. Emily has always been very particular about her life, especially when it comes to her wedding planning. I, on the other hand, have always tried to stay out of the minutiae of her choices and respect her decisions, even if I didn't agree with them. My husband, Jason, 34M, and I have been together for 8 years. Jason is sarcastic, very dry in his humor, and sometimes doesn't think before he speaks. Most of the time, it's harmless and even funny, but occasionally it comes off as blunt or insensitive. I usually catch him before it becomes an issue, but this time I didn't notice. The trouble began last month during a family brunch at Emily's house. She was showing us the final details of her wedding planning, including some very expensive floral arrangements, custom-made invitations, and a live band she was hiring. Emily has always been someone who loves extravagance, and while I think she sometimes goes overboard, I generally keep my opinions to myself. Jason, however, has a habit of making offhand remarks that he thinks are funny. As Emily was showing us a sample of the flower arrangements, he said, "Wow, are these flowers for the wedding or for a queen's coronation?" Everyone laughed nervously except Emily, who didn't respond immediately. Then Jason added, "Honestly, I hope the prize comes with a crown too." I chuckled, thinking it was harmless teasing. Emily's face tightened, and she excused herself from the room. Later that evening, she sent me a long message saying she felt insulted and embarrassed in front of everyone, and that Jason's comments were completely inappropriate. She said she didn't want him at the wedding because she didn't trust him to keep his mouth in check. I tried to reason with her, explaining that Jason didn't mean anything by it, but she refused to reconsider. She also mentioned that inviting him would ruin the vibe of her wedding and that she had already started telling vendors and guests that he wouldn't be attending. I was shocked. I told her that excluding my husband over a harmless comment seemed extreme and that I couldn't attend the wedding without him. I tried to suggest a compromise, like having him attend but asking him to tone down his sarcasm, but she wasn't having it. She said that if I truly cared about her, I would respect her decision and leave Jason out, or else I shouldn't come at all. After that, I felt trapped. I really wanted to be at my sister's wedding, but I also couldn't imagine going without Jason. He is my partner, and while he can be insensitive at times, he's also a big part of my life, and excluding him over a single offhand comment felt unreasonable. I told Emily I wouldn't attend the wedding under those conditions. She responded by calling me selfish and accusing me of trying to control her wedding by demanding that he be allowed. Our parents are caught in the middle. They support me and want to stand by my husband, but also feel bad because Emily is heartbroken. The rest of our extended family seems divided, some thinking I'm being unreasonable, others saying Emily is overreacting. Since then, Emily hasn't spoken to me, and our communication is limited to brief, polite exchanges. I feel sad because I really wanted to share her wedding day and celebrate with her, but I also feel strongly that I shouldn't attend a major family event without my spouse. Jason feels hurt and angry as well, saying he can't believe he's being punished for joking around. We've discussed going separately to the wedding to keep the peace, but I refuse to do that. Attending without him feels wrong to me. Friends who know the situation have mixed opinions. Some say I should prioritize my sister and go alone, while others agree that it's unreasonable for her to disinvite Jason over one comment. I've tried explaining to Emily that this could be an opportunity for her to show grace and let the incident go, but she remains firm, insisting it's a matter of respect and boundaries. I keep replaying the brunch in my head, wondering if Jason really crossed a line or if Emily's reaction is disproportionate. I understand she wants everything perfect, but I also feel she's punishing me indirectly by excluding the person closest to me. At this point, the wedding is in 3 weeks, and the tension is so high that I doubt any reconciliation is possible in the short term. I've resigned myself to missing her wedding, which makes me feel sad and guilty, but I also don't want to compromise my principles or my marriage. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she disinvited my husband over a harmless joke? I know family dynamics are complicated, but this situation has left me questioning whether I'm being selfish or standing up for what's right. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé? I, 28F, have always been close to my younger sister, Emily, 25F. We grew up in a fairly tight-knit family, and while we had our fair share of fights like most siblings, we always managed to support each other. Our parents divorced when I was 18, and since then, Emily and I have relied on each other even more. Over the years, I've celebrated her graduations, birthdays, and personal milestones, and she has done the same for me. However, the issue I'm facing now involves her upcoming wedding and her fiancé, Mark, 27M. Emily and Mark have been dating for about 3 years. I met Mark early on, and at first, I tried to get along with him. He seemed polite enough, and I wanted to give him a chance because I love my sister and wanted her to be happy. However, over time, I started noticing behaviors from him that made me extremely uncomfortable. He is controlling in ways that I think are subtle but concerning. For example, during family dinners, he often interrupts Emily, corrects her, or undermines her opinions. Initially, I brushed it off, thinking he might just be a little awkward or overprotective, but it has escalated. The biggest incident happened last year during Emily's birthday party. She invited a small group of friends and family over, and Mark insisted on helping plan the event. He decided who should be invited without consulting Emily and criticized her decorations and menu choices. When Emily tried to voice her opinion, he snapped at her in front of everyone, saying, "If you really cared about making this work, you'd listen to me." I pulled him aside privately and told him that his behavior was not acceptable, but he dismissed me and said, "I'm just trying to help her." Emily seemed upset, but didn't say anything, and I could see that she was starting to doubt herself because of him. Since then, things have only gotten worse. Emily frequently texts me about arguments she's had with Mark, which mostly revolve around him dictating what she should wear, how she should spend her money, or even how she interacts with friends and family. I've tried talking to Emily about it, gently pointing out that some of Mark's behavior seems controlling. She usually brushes it off, saying she knows him better and that he's just protective or really cares. I don't want to come across as judgmental, but seeing her self-esteem diminish in front of me has been painful. The final straw came a few weeks ago when Emily announced her wedding date. I was happy for her at first, but then she started telling me about the guest list and her plans. She said that Mark insisted on limiting the wedding to only a small number of people he approved of, and that he had vetoed some of her closest friends for being invited. When I questioned this, she said, "It's my wedding, and I agreed with him." I was shocked because it felt like she was ignoring her own wishes just to appease him. I decided I couldn't go through with attending the wedding. I told Emily that I loved her, but I could not, in good conscience, participate in a celebration where her autonomy and happiness seemed secondary to someone else's control. I explained that Mark's behavior toward her has been concerning and that attending would feel like endorsing it. Emily got very angry. She accused me of being judgmental, trying to control her, and even of being jealous that she's moving on in life. She said that if I truly loved her, I would support her choices, regardless of my opinions about Mark. I tried to reason with her, saying that supporting her doesn't mean pretending everything is okay if I genuinely feel uncomfortable. I suggested counseling or at least having an honest conversation about boundaries with Mark before the wedding. She refused and said I was overstepping. Since then, our communication has been strained. She has started making plans without me and told me not to interfere with wedding preparations. My parents are divided. Our mother thinks I'm right to be concerned about Emily's well-being, while my father says I should just attend and keep the peace. A few friends have weighed in, mostly suggesting that I should put aside my reservations for one day to celebrate my sister. But I keep thinking about how Mark has made Emily doubt herself repeatedly and how attending might feel like I'm ignoring that. I love my sister dearly, but I also feel like my presence would not be genuine and might make me resentful. So, Reddit AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé. I'm worried that I might be overreacting or projecting my own judgments, but I also feel like staying true to my values is important. I've tried explaining my reasons calmly, but she sees it as an attack, and now our relationship is under tension. I'm caught between supporting my sister and protecting my own moral boundaries. AITA for refusing to host my sister's wedding rehearsal dinner, even though it's tradition, and now my family is calling me selfish. I, 32F, have always had a complicated relationship with my family, mostly my younger sister, Emma, 28F. We grew up in a small town where everyone knew each other, and my parents, both in their 60s, were very traditional. I've lived in the city for the past 10 years, far away from the town, and I've built a life that's very different from the one I grew up in. I own my apartment, work in tech, and spend a lot of time focusing on self-care and personal projects. My family respects my independence, but I've always been the different sibling. Emma has been the perfect child, always following the rules and keeping in touch with everyone back home. Emma got engaged last year, and I was thrilled for her. I tried to help in every way I could, whether it was picking out dresses, giving ideas for decorations, or reviewing the guest list. I even offered to help with planning a few small events leading up to the wedding, but my help was mostly turned down. Emma's fiancé, Mark, is great, but he's very traditional as well. Both he and my parents kept insisting that I host the wedding rehearsal dinner at my apartment. I was shocked. My apartment is tiny. I live in a one-bedroom place that barely fits my friends, let alone a large group of family and wedding guests. When I told them this, they said that I could just make it work and that it was tradition for the oldest sibling to host the rehearsal dinner. I explained multiple times that my space is not suitable for that kind of event, and even if I rented a hall nearby, it would be a huge financial and logistical burden for me. Emma brushed off my concerns, saying that it's what everyone does and that it would make her parents happy. I tried suggesting alternatives, like having the dinner at a restaurant or renting a small community hall, but my parents and Emma kept insisting that it had to be at my place. They argued that it was more personal that way, and that it was part of family tradition. I have no idea what tradition they're talking about. My grandparents never hosted rehearsal dinners at our houses, and my parents have never done it either. I eventually said no. I told them that I would not be hosting the dinner in my apartment, and that I could help find a venue or contribute financially to a proper space. Emma got upset and accused me of being selfish, saying I was ruining her wedding experience. My parents called me immature and ungrateful, insisting that I was breaking family tradition. Mark didn't say much, but gave me a look that clearly expressed disappointment. After my refusal, Emma decided to host the rehearsal dinner at her fiancé's parents' house, which is much larger and can accommodate everyone comfortably. The night of the rehearsal, my parents made a point of not inviting me to the pre-dinner family gathering at their house, saying that I was making things awkward. Emma sent me a text during the dinner thanking me for still trying to help, but also saying that it would have been better if I had just gone along with their plan. I felt hurt and frustrated. I was willing to contribute and help, just not by doing something that would be physically impossible and financially stressful for me. Since then, my family has been giving me the cold shoulder. My parents keep making comments about how I don't understand family responsibilities, and Emma barely speaks to me unless necessary. My friends say I did the right thing, but I can't help feeling guilty because my sister seemed genuinely upset. I don't want to be the villain in her wedding story, but I also don't want to compromise my boundaries or turn my tiny apartment into a circus. I've tried explaining that my refusal doesn't mean I don't care about her or her wedding, but my words don't seem to help. I've considered apologizing just to smooth things over, but I feel like that would be dishonest because I truly cannot host the dinner. I keep replaying the conversations in my head, wondering if I could have handled it differently, maybe by saying yes initially and then quietly finding a way to opt out later. But the more I think about it, the more I feel like the expectation that I host the dinner is unreasonable. So, Reddit AITA for refusing to host my sister's wedding rehearsal dinner, even though it's tradition, and now my family is calling me selfish? Here's some additional context that might be relevant. I live in a small one-bedroom apartment in the city. My parents live in the same small town where the wedding is happening. Emma has always been the sibling who follows the rules and keeps everyone happy. I've always been independent and sometimes seen as rebellious for not doing things the traditional way. I offered to help in ways that didn't involve hosting, including contributing money for a venue or helping with decorations. I really want to maintain a good relationship with my sister, but I also don't want to feel pressured into doing something that's logistically impossible and personally stressful. I feel like my family is framing my refusal as a moral failing rather than a practical decision. But maybe I'm missing something here. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos also. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.